Good evening, everybody. Well, welcome to another Maddk Studio podcast. Tonight, I have a friend of mine on, Brad Flaherty, and we're going to talk a little bit about what his business is, and he's got some really interesting developments and things that he's worked on. And how we met was through another friend, Mark from, there you go, cadpd.com. Mark Macaulay from CAD, he has a product development company. And I had done some work with him. He works with Stratasys, and Stratasys is a 3D printer. And Mark and Stratasys hired me to do a bunch of these helmets. If you look underneath, you can see it's 3D printed. So I did the finish work on it to make it look like this. And they used these helmets to be display. I think we did 10 of them, and they get shipped around the world. If you Google it, Stratasys helmets, you'll see this very helmet that went around the world a few times. It's kind of beat up now, but that's how I met Brad here, because Brad has also done some work with Mark, and he needed some work done similar to this, where there were some 3D printed parts that needed to be finished. And I believe you talked to Mark about that, and Mark referred you to me.
Yeah. We needed to do some very large 3D prints for a client of ours who was bringing a new product to market. It was LeMond Companies. Greg LeMond has a bike out, which is unbelievably exciting. Mark was kind enough to help us go through the process of 3D printing some really large prints. I believe they were done on a Fortis machine, and that's an FDM. It's what I call the glue gun, right?
Yep.
And that always leaves a texture to it, almost like a grain, right? As you know,
right.
Ken.
Yep.
And since you've got such a background with working with your hands and working on cars and airbrushing, you've kind of grown into cleaning up and finishing FDM parts so they look like they're production quality. And so Mark said to me, "You got to work with Ken. He's the only guy to work with." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Mark's fantastic. He's a great supporter of Maddk Studio here.
Mark is a pretty remarkable guy. And so you were kind enough to rush that through, and we got that taken care of. And Mark did some other parts for us. And my business partner, who is an embedded systems engineer, he was doing the electronics and the electricity type stuff on that.
Right. Well, I'm glad you bring that up. So I'd like to explain to the people what you do. Your company has a couple of different facets, which makes it really interesting. And something I'll tell you too about Brad. As we were working on this project, there was a time crunch. There was things like that. There was one night that must have been 100 degrees out, muggy, and we had to get some stuff done. And there was a lot of wet sanding and just plain busy work. So Brad came over at, I don't know, 6 o'clock at night, and we worked till about midnight sanding the stuff doing. So he's a get down and get dirty, get your hands dirty and get in there and get done what needs to get done kind of guy. And over that evening, we bonded and got to be pretty good friends. So this is one of the reasons here. But his business and the company I work with, or I work for, Zero, the motorcycle parts, we're always looking for new technologies and new people we can utilize for electronics and different kind of things, and graphics. So electronics and graphics are two things that don't really seem to go together. So why don't you tell us about how electronics and graphics go together with your two companies?
Yeah, just to talk about the industry in general that I come from. I come from wide format printing. I worked in a family business where a lot of printing for trade shows. So 10 feet wide on fabrics, all kinds of strange materials were printed on. And my job was to go out and try and find new technologies. And one of the things that's happened over time is digital printing has become more pervasive in every part of our life, whether that's through 3D printing. And I'm not going to go through all of that because you could probably do it better than me, Ken. And but when it comes to 2D printing, the number of materials you can print on and the types of inks you can use have just exploded. I don't know if anybody knows this, but I read about a year, maybe 2 years ago, that inkjet heads have outpaced Moore's law for 5 years. Which means that they have, it's unbelievable.
Amazing.
So I mean, it's kind of one of the sort of unsung industrial advancements that you don't really see on CNN or in the Washington Post, but it's an amazing development over time. And one of the things that's happened is that as the printing equipment has grown in its ability, now you can print functional materials. So traditionally, when you talk about functional materials, you mean conductive materials, but
Right, right.
but you can also print adhesives, surface modifications, um, protective coatings, all kinds of just crazy things. And
And I'm going to stop just for a
yeah,
second here and just show people kind of what we're talking about, the large format printing. That is, this is something that he actually did for my son and I.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to get a good picture of it there, but
yeah.
it is, let's see, it won't focus for me. There we go. It was the side of my son's car. So that whole graphic there was all printed in one piece. So that's what we're talking about, a large format printing. It's not just for cars. I mean, you can use it on just about anything, but
Mhm.
what you're talking about now is being able to print something that'll conduct electricity.
Yeah, yeah. And so we went into business to be a manufacturer and use a technology that can print conductive traces. And it doesn't do it truly digitally, but it's very close to that. It uses a disposable or temporary tooling, and it allows us to do a low quantity of. And here's an example of a stock item. So this would be like a membrane switch, right? So it's got these little metal dome buttons that go clickety click, right? And this one is actually printed with a process that's it's silk screened, very similar, although highly engineered compared to like a t-shirt would be printed, right? But the same basic idea, right? You create a screen or a tool, and
Mhm.
then you put the material down and you cure it or you dry it, and that's what's typically done in this type of material. Membrane switches is what they're called, or keypads, right?
So what kind of what you were going to produce or yeah, like keypads and things? What other kind of products were you looking at getting into? We can talk about what happened when COVID hit. That
Oh
changed
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
But what kind of products were you looking at doing? So, examples of end user.
Yeah. So our goal is to be a on-demand industrial printer. And what that means is anything that requires either a higher durability than like a sticker, right? So we print
Mhm.
on all different types of materials. We have all kinds of laminates. We have all kinds of adhesives to stick to just about any surface you can imagine. And then on top of that comes the ability to do membrane switches and then put a graphic over the top of it. And and so our goal is to help people who need small quantities and need highly engineered print or functional human machine interfaces. Um, and that's what we do. So it could
Almost
be
like
anything.
I could see like a point of purchase display or something like that, where you
Yeah.
need a lit board or something that someone needs to interface with, but you don't, I know for our company, we have a lot of experimental products and we have to make displays to show them.
Mhm.
And that's what's one of the things that we do. Our manufacturer that we work with actually they make the printed boards for all of our LEDs and everything.
Mhm.
So they have the controller for it too, but we could take this stuff and then give it to you guys to do a display and to have buttons, turn things on, turn things off. I'm simplifying it a lot,
Yeah.
but just
Yeah.
to basically, like a display of something. You go to any of the stores, Best Buy or any of the big stores, there's always those displays in the electronics part where you can press a button and something happens or a light comes
Yep.
on
Yep.
and someone has to design all that. Well, if you're Sony, you can make 50,000 of those and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But if you're, you know, Ken Schmo sitting in his garage playing around with stuff, and I might need 5 of them that I can put in some different stores locally to show off. Suppose I want to do something like I want to do a screen that has some light up that show like pictures of cars I might draw or dogs or something like that. Then I want to try to place in different dealerships or say like a grooming place that grooms dogs, and I want something interactive while the people are waiting, and say, um, I want 5 buttons. These have to light up in this way, and I want when this happens, I want the screen to come on and do that.
Mhm.
That's the kind of stuff that you can help develop.
Yeah. Yeah. And so my partner, he's an embedded systems engineer, so he can do the actual intelligence if need be. And then our technology allows you to create I think of it as the functional skin that goes
Mhm.
over the product, right? And that skin can be transparent, so you can see a little LCD screen or even a big one. Um, and so to your point, and thank you for making it, most of these types of products, you order 100 to 10,000 and you wait 3 weeks. We ship 5 units in 5 days, and we do it domestically.
Yeah, it's
So
incredible.
you don't
It's
have to
incredible.
worry about Chinese New Year or all the other things that can happen when you literally are kicking a product halfway around a planet. You know, we're in Minneapolis, and we manufacture these very quickly in low quantity.
And this is a great part. So having been, I've developed a lot of products. I've got 30 some patents, and
Whoa, you got 30?
it's, yeah, I've got 30.
I only got one.
I got 30 this year. I hit the big 3-0.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We in that time, there's been different times where we've tried to manufacture prototype stuff, especially electrical things, here in the States, and the lead times and just dealing with the people that are doing it in the companies and are nearly impossible. So I don't think people realize what a huge deal this is, that they can come to you and your partner. This guy is amazing, you guys. He is so far above and beyond
Yeah, my
intelligence.
partner, he's the
It's
smart
like,
guy. He really is. I always say he makes MacGyver look like a bedwetter, you know, because I mean, he's just so, and he's a good guy too.
yeah,
I
he is.
mean,
He is.
you know, he and I are literally in the basement of an industrial space, and you know, it's not pretty, which is why you see this blue behind me. We got to manage low overhead, and for some reason, he keeps coming back. He must like the work or something.
Yeah,
But
he's brilliant. He's a brilliant
oh
guy.
yeah, he's really smart.
And
And
it's just the two
also
of you,
really
right?
easy to work with.
Is
Well,
it?
it's the two of us, and then we have some specialized people that we hire on a contract basis when we need them.
Sure.
And then
Sure.
we've got one part-time employee right now.
Oh, cool.
And the technology is really made so that we can turn quickly a mass or a large assortment of items, right?
Very
Because
cool.
the equipment really handles the complexity, to be honest.
Right.
So
Right. Oh, that's
um,
fantastic.
yeah, so it works out pretty
Well,
well for us. And what happened during COVID is, you know, we were going to do a lot of selling, and then COVID hit, and so then the majority of our work now is in engineering. But we look forward to a time when the majority of our revenue is a function of manufacturing instead
well,
of
I suppose
engineering.
with COVID hit, it's hard to go and have meetings and show people, because what you guys
Yeah,
do is, it's, you know, we can sit there and, you know, you guys could sit and say, we made this, look, I press the button and the
yeah,
light color changes, you know, but
yeah.
you have to be in the room. You have to make the deals. You have to have the you and I are very similar in this way. You want that person to person
Oh,
interaction,
absolutely. Yeah.
especially when you're talking about, if you're going to be doing something it's going to be fairly expensive. You know,
Yeah, relatively
engineering,
speaking.
you know, engineering is not cheap to do.
No,
And
no.
but
The
so
the
how,
thing that's
what,
nice though is that
go
when it
ahead.
comes to our manufacturing, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
no, go ahead.
you know, typically you're gonna pay more per unit but less per order with us. So you know, to give you an example, and I'm making up numbers here. Let's say you order 100 units offshore for $1,000. You know, you'll probably pay for 5 units, you'll probably pay in the ballpark of 500, right? But you'll
Mhm.
get them in 5 days, right?
Right.
So that's the real difference, is the ability to get them very quickly and in very low quantity so you can iterate. And we just did a project, and I don't think I'm allowed to say who it was for, but what they did is they ordered one keypad from us, and they did 5, and then they called up and they said, now we just want to change the graphic because our customer wants to see a different graphic.
Right.
And so then we made 5 more, and they just called us and said, hey, can you do a production run? And the answer is, of course we can, but do you want us to use our technology to do that? Because this is the classic case of expensive materials
Right.
versus inexpensive materials and the setup cost, right? So it's a lot like what happened with 3D printing and thermoplastics.
Yeah.
You know, you used to be able to, you used to have to injection mold with a $60,000 tool. Proto Labs came around and said, hey, for a $10,000 tool, you can get 20 units. And
Hmm.
now there's FDM printing, and you can pay I don't know, $100 a unit. I'm making up numbers. So
It FDM stuff. So the FDM is fused deposition modeling. That's
thank you.
where basically, to make it really simple, you take a thick piece of fishing line that's plastic and you're running it through through a head that heats it up, and it makes it a lot thinner, like, you know, 100 or a thousandth of an inch, and it prints a layer at a time. And that's how that helmet that we talked about earlier was printed. But what it's done is it's still the materials that are, anything that's any good isn't cheap. Anything that's cheap really isn't any good. So we
Yeah.
haven't reached the point. So there's a the same thing happened in the motorcycle world and car world, where a lot of guys came out, like Boyd Coddington. Everyone's heard of Boyd Coddington and Chip Foos. Well, they have these billet wheels, right? And then they're making billet wheels. Well, they can make billet wheels because there's a company, or they make their own, or there's a couple of companies out there that make them, that make the forged blanks. And
Oh.
they're just taking that wheel that's already made and cutting shape out of it.
Okay.
So, but if they had to forge each one of those wheels in that shape and do it, it would be really, it's not cost effective.
Yeah.
In a lot of the motorcycle parts, that the custom shops are making cool billet machined parts out of a block of aluminum. Well, they're only making 5 or 6 for people.
Mhm.
That's fine, but every single one of those costs exactly the same amount of money. If
Mhm.
you can die cast that same piece, it'll look just exactly the same. You won't be able to tell the difference. However, every piece you make gets less expensive,
Mhm.
but the tooling on the front end is going to be $40,000. So are
Yeah.
you going to sell 5 of them, or are you going to sell 200? You have to make sure that you're in there. And that's kind of where what you're talking about, it all, there is a sweet spot where, for prototyping and things like that. And this is where, you know, you and I are both in the Nomad network. I dragged you in there.
Mhm. Yeah. No,
And
I'm glad you did. It's cool.
it's a place where a lot of people, I want to be able to explain these things to them. A couple of weeks ago, I did an interview with another one of the Nomads, and she's an engineer, mechanical and electrical engineer for carbon3d.com, who makes real
Oh,
high-end
wow.
printers that do, they're
Yeah.
the ones that print. She worked on the printers that print the Adidas shoe.
Yeah. Their technology's for real, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
The carbon 3D printers are really neat. Really neat.
yeah, it's cool stuff. So anyway, that's kind of some of the electrical side of what you're doing. And
Mhm.
then you've also got the rapid rapid interface.
Yeah. So yeah. So rapid interface is part industrial graphics and part human machine interface. So what we say is we are an on-demand manufacturer of on-product graphics, like decals
Right.
or or product graphics or branding, and also of human machine interfaces, which would be, yep, keypads or membrane switches or overlays too. There's a lot of need for overlays for all kinds of products, and we do those as well. And
Yeah, it's a really interesting. You don't realize how much of that you see from every day, from just going to the stores and things like that.
yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
graphics are everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So who's your client usually for that kind of stuff? You know,
Yeah.
what's your ideal client? If someone, well, first of all, I know you can't talk about a lot. The beauty about what we're talking about is everything is like totally secret. So we have to kind of skirt around the edges
Yeah.
of our
Yeah.
secret
I
plans
don't
to take
enjoy
over the
that part of
world.
my job, but our clients expect us to keep confidences, and um,
That's critical.
that's yeah, it's important. They want to make sure that the stuff that they bring to market is what they need and where they need. You know, we work with a number of product development firms in town, and we typically do that either as a supplier of my partner's brilliance. He's an engineer and he's really smart, and sometimes it's for something unique that they need for a client, whether it's a a human machine interface, or whether it's a like a graphic that goes over something, or they need a really unique, I've always wanted to do printed origami, just because our equipment can
Oh
do it,
yeah,
but I don't have
yes,
enough time on the weekends because I have a family to like
yeah.
come in and like make. Our machines could literally make printed origami, which would be fun, right?
Oh, that would be really cool.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. But I mean, that's the kind of thing, every once in a while someone says, I just need a prototype wrap for this machine that promotes the fact that the machine does this, right? Maybe it's a new machine that does something unique. So like, I think it's okay to say this, but we did some prototype graphics that needed to have a unique cut line, and then it wrapped around this part of the product. And I think it's okay to say this. The name of the product was Lid Boss, right? And so
Okay.
they had this hands-free lid dispenser, and it worked incredibly well. And but when you looked at it, it looked kind of like a coffee maker, right? So they needed something to make it be like, hey, wave your hand here. And so when you waved your hand here, it spit out one lid, as opposed to what happens whenever I try to grab a lid and then there's 15 of them on the
Yeah,
floor.
they all
I
come
looked
out.
like a schmo, and I like put it on my coffee, and then like it was the last guy, so they needed something really unique that didn't really require any adhesives to fit right around.
Right, right.
And they designed that. We could have designed that, I think,
Mhm.
depending on what the customer's expectations were. But that the thing I think that's good to talk about in general terms is we make products that don't require tooling. So
Yes.
like if you're doing a packaging project and you want to have 1,000 labels, you buy a steel rule die, and it comes down and it clicks on the material, and you get 1,000 of them. If you want to have 100 or 50 of them, we have knife plotters and knife drag systems and laser cutters that prevent the need for tooling. So it allows us to turn faster, and it allows us to allow a lot more variety and variation. The other side of that is what you said earlier, which is, every single unit that we make takes the same amount of time. And
Right.
so our cycle times tend to be just a little bit longer, but it gives you a lot of flexibility. We had a customer who asked for some overlays, and they said they didn't know what size it was going to be. And they said, it's somewhere between this and this. And I said, well, why don't I just do it every 1/4 inch from this to that? And he said, oh, wow, that's great. You can do that? I said, yeah, we're not traditional. We don't use any tooling, and I can have them
Right.
for you in 5 days. He really appreciated that, so.
And I like it because you're using equipment that you're taking equipment to the next level of what you're using with your vinyl cutters and the way you do this, and your
Yeah.
plotters and things like that. It's having worked in the sign industry in a shop for many years, I know how those worked, and it was always just, you're going to print out the sign, it's either square or it's round, and you stick it on the board and ship it out. But
Mhm.
you're taking these things to a whole new level because you saw what this machine could do, and say, well, we can do so much more with this than is actually being done. And with
Yeah.
your partner in his skills with your knowledge of materials and in manufacturing stuff, and his skills with the electrical engineering genius,
Yeah, he's
it,
brilliant.
it and you kept it small. And this is what's interesting to me. It's a nice small
Mhm.
company and you're slowly growing. This
Mhm.
isn't exponential, but right when you were about to get, to go to the big thing and then just go to the big show, here comes COVID and wiped you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That
then,
was
but
challenging.
you pivoted,
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
and you pivot and move forward.
Yeah.
And that you and me met in the middle of the COVID garbage in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. And yeah, that was, anyways, we've all enjoyed that. I I can ruminate on that when when I got grandkids on my knees. But
Yeah.
the nice thing is that we had to pivot, and we did, and we're still around, and we really want to keep things lean, because the whole venture capital route that people typically go through, you end up
Mhm.
being beholden to people who are really intelligent in business practices and have access to capital. That's the benefit, right? And you also get access to their network usually. But the difficulty we'd have is that what we're doing is so specialized. It would be really unique for us to find a venture capitalist who understood what we were trying to do,
Right.
right? So we've just decided we're going to bootstrap, and
Well, then it's
yeah,
all network and it's all building, and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
I think that's a better way to go. Once you've got somebody that you have to answer to, you have to answer to them, and
Yeah,
that's the problem with it. And
yeah.
yeah, it's rough and it's hard to claw your way up, but
Hmm.
but when you get there, then you've got something that's got a lot more value. I mean, look at what happened at Apple when they pushed Steve Jobs out.
Hmm.
What an awful move that was. It had to happen, but
Hmm.
they pushed and then the company, it's lost its drive. It changes, it turns to corporate. I used to work at a place that I won't mention that very similar things happened to. And this last September, they just closed the doors and moved everything to a different state and let everyone go. A lot of people had been there for 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
And the soul of the company's gone. At that point, it's just a brand and a name. And building the brand is great, and the people that build the brand did well. That the people that bought the brand when it was going did very well. The people that bought the brand from then and made a bigger conglomerate, they did well. But everyone's taking their piece out all the way down, and it ends up to being something different. What you guys are doing and what we're doing in our company is just, again, we're staying as lean. We're like, okay, each one of us is doing the job of 5 people. If each one of us could do the job of 4.5 people, so let's hire a guy.
Yeah.
You do the same thing.
The challenge is that you're constantly doing stuff that you're bad at. I mean, like, I hate to admit it, but I love variety and I love doing new things. So it's kind of this give and take. It's like, this took me X amount of time, and it would take someone who's really good at it a quarter of that, but they charge 8 times that. I mean, I'm just making up numbers, but
exactly.
You always find yourself doing stuff that you're like, wow, I'm really not suited to this. And so it goes a lot slower than you want.
Right.
But
exactly.
But the good news is if you like variety and you like independence, and both me and my business partner do, it's a lot of fun. I mean,
and you do have, and there'll be a lot of nights where you're working at 11:30, but there's a lot of days where you're like, you know what, Junior's got baseball, I'm going to go to that game, and you got no one that's going to tell you can't.
Yeah,
and you can arrange your schedule.
Yeah. No, if the only thing I have to do is make sure that we take care of our customers.
Right.
And if that means I come in at 2 a.m. and get the order done by 5, but I get to catch my kids' choir recital or something, then that's what that means. But that's wonderful. And I don't know, I talked to a guy who worked in an auto place once, and he was working the front desk, and he just looked miserable. He was dealing with a lot of people. And he said
that usually aren't happy, like, if they're a mechanic shop, they're usually not happy people.
Yeah, usually no one, right. No one goes to the mechanic and like, oh, great, it's only going to be that, So, and he was just not liking life. And then I came into the dealership like 6 months later, and he was in back with a wrench, and he had this look of happiness on his face. And I said, wow, man, what's up? And he goes, I just realized I'd rather be angry at things than people. And I was like,
what a great way of looking at that.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of great. And so for me, really it's like, I'd rather be angry at the stuff that's happening in my shop than frustrated by someone who's managing me, even though they may be doing an amazing job. And that independence, it's really quite wonderful. I
really like that.
For me, it's great. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So shifting gears a little bit, what would you look at? So some of the people that are watching this or listening to it, if you're on the podcast, my YouTube channel is Maddk Studio on YouTube. You can find it there. But what's a good client for you? Like, someone's coming to you with an idea of something they want to build, and what should they be prepared with when they come to you? Whether it's on the graphics side or the electronics side, what are you looking for in a client? How can we be better clients, I guess is the question.
I would say the main thing it really boils down to money, right? I mean, if someone comes to us and says, look, I am willing to spend this amount of money, I can tell them whether we're a good supplier for them or not.
Right.
If someone says, hey, I need some work done and it costs, and I have $200 allocated, I can say to them, okay, we might, depending on the work, I can say, well, we could help you with that, or call my buddy Charlie, right?
Right.
There are guys who are doing graphic services out of their home and charging a really healthy rate for themselves, and can do some pretty amazing stuff quickly, right?
Right.
So if you
without the overhead of a shop and
absolutely,
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think of them as 1099 independent contractors. At the same time, every once in a while, someone will come and say, hey, I'm only willing to spend this much. And I'm like, well, that's going to involve circuitry. It's going to involve thermoplastics. It's going to involve, that's really not going to cut it. So here's what and then I can usually say to people something like, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to skill up on these things and
Sure.
see how far you can get this going. Right. Um, and so, a lot of times I'll tell people you're going to have to do some of the 3D design yourself. So, download SketchUp. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Or download, what is it? AutoCAD 360. What is it? Fusion
Yeah, this
360, excuse
Fusion.
me.
Yep, Fusion.
Yeah, which I can't stand that program, but it's the right price. Okay.
Right.
And it allows you to start thinking critically and three-dimensionally. And a lot of times people also kind of have this attitude of like, well, if it's not going to make me $1 million, I'm not going to do it. And I just kind of shake my head when I hear that. Or,
Right. Right.
it's for me, when people talk about they want to bring a product to market, or they want to have a side hustle, or they want to have something extra in their life, the thing that adds to your life is adventure. And
Right.
and I mean, people talk about like, oh, I want a fancy car, or I want a cabin, or I want a new this, or I want a new that. There's no adventure in excuse me, there's no adventure in that shit. The
Right.
adventure is in finding another merry band of crazy people who want to do new stuff. Like,
Right.
that is
Yeah,
the most rewarding thing you can do, because it
exactly.
requires you to learn new things. It requires you to find people who are good at things that you never even thought mattered. Right. And at the end of it, there's this great meme I read the other day. It was something like, um, a bunch of pirates went out looking for treasure and found out that the real treasure was the relationships they forged on the journey. Right.
Oh, super
And
cool.
I read that and I was like, and I'm making that up from memory. But the reality is that, yes, you do want to make some money. That's great. But having a side hustle, or having a product development project, or a graphic development project, and there's plenty of products out there that you can develop that are nothing more than print, like playing cards or games.
All right.
If you've always wanted to make a game, there are on-demand producers for games. My favorite one is it's called The Game Crafter. They do the most crazy things, incredible customization, and it's unbelievable. If you have an idea and you want to see if you can go with it, the value is, yes, perhaps making money one day, but also having something that's just really exciting, and then having something that allows you to get new relationships. Right. I mean, if you and I weren't
Right.
working on that development project together, we wouldn't have become friends.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And this
Well,
and
and
this is
also
great.
we have a shared passion. And it was one of those, like, I'll tell you honestly, you guys, like, we worked together, and it was a multi-$1,000 deal that him and I had worked it on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'd forget to even bill each other. I mean, I shouldn't say that,
Yeah.
but
Don't say that.
it was yeah, on my end. I'd forget, 'cause
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like, yeah. And Brad would call me and say, Ken, you got to send me a bill or something for that stuff. Yeah,
But I
yeah,
can,
I think
but
I'll
Ken,
do
I can
that.
pay you in beer. I'm happy to send you a six
Yeah,
pack.
that's right. I
You know?
almost would take you up on that some of those hot days. Oh hell.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess I'm looking at, you bring out something that I've heard from a lot of people that are very successful, is they never did it for the money. They did it for the experience and the love of doing it, and not even a follow your passion kind of thing and follow your
Hmm.
dreams, because that can
Hmm.
go take you down a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
But this is more of a you know what, I just really enjoy doing this. That's why you've got guys like Elon Musk out there. He doesn't have to work. His kids don't have to work. His grandkids don't have to work. He
Mhm.
doesn't have to do anything. And I guarantee you he's busier now than he ever has been,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he is a passionate guy that wants to keep generating and new stuff and creating stuff. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
he had one day, he said, you guys, here's what we do. We're going to take one of these $150,000 Teslas. We're going to put a dude in it. I'm going to send it into space.
Yeah. It's crazy what he does.
That's great stuff. But you know what? That whole team, that wasn't just him. There was a
No,
whole
no.
team of people. I don't know how many. I don't know a hell of a lot. But you got to think there's maybe a core group of 25 people that
Hmm.
had to have been problem solving, coming up with a way to do that. How do you mount the car and the rocket? How do we get the rocket off the thing? How do we film it? Because you got to be able to
Hmm.
just put it on Facebook. So how did they
Yeah.
get the GoPros to do whatever they did in
Yeah.
space? For crying
That's
out loud.
that. Jemiah could figure that out. I couldn't. I mean,
Me
like,
neither. Yeah, you and
yeah.
me
So
make stuff look cool, but
yeah,
we need
I can
Jemiah
put
to make
color on
it
it.
work. Yeah, there it's sitting there in the field there. It's got to go up in space. Jemiah will tell you.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But no,
And
I appreciate
but
that.
at the same time, you got to make sure that you're billing adequately for what you do.
Right.
Right. There's the beginning of the phase of your development of your business or your idea or your concept. And that's where the sweat equity comes in. And then
Mhm.
you got to pare down the process and make it more efficient, decide what matters. And then you got to make sure that you're getting paid at that point. Even though, yes, I mean, I would, I love what I do. I would come here every day regardless.
Right.
However, I'm not doing this. Um, my time has value, you
There's no
know?
shame. There's no shame in saying you want to make money.
Yeah,
You
you know,
just
that I
and
agree.
this is something that I think has been a problem in our society. Is I think it was probably because of the Great Depression. Since then,
Yeah,
of being rich is looked down upon on some people, and I'm like, this
yeah,
is. I mean, come on. This is
yeah,
what everyone would want, because everybody could be a blessing to whoever they want, however they want, any cause they want, if they were rich.
yeah,
So I look at it that way. I'm like, hey, we need, but in the meantime, you've got to be able to charge and make money. I like the way that you do it, where you break it into, and this is talking to people that might want to come and develop a product with you, me,
mhm,
anybody, and
yeah,
just say, we're going to break this into sections. You're going to have an initial section. I do this with graphics a lot of
yeah,
times. I'll do
yeah.
I'll
I've
do
seen
some
you do it.
sketches and
You're good
stuff,
at it.
and I'll do them for free. And I'll just say, here, if anything here that you like, um, let's work with it. If you don't like anything, tell me that too, because then I know a different direction we can go with. Or let me, like you, I've got a network of artists and designers. I'm like, maybe you're a better fit over here. But
Mhm,
basically, I like to give people a really good deal in the beginning of
mhm,
just saying, look, I'm not just here to take all your money,
yeah,
but I do have value, and you will
mhm,
be paying me if we proceed. But let's figure out exactly what we want to do, so we're both happy with it.
yeah,
And I heard a definition of capitalism is it's two people exchanging items that each one feels um how is it, but each person feels they got more than they gave up.
yeah,
So I have a candy bar, you have $1.
mhm,
That candy bar is worth more than $1 to you. That dollar is worth more than that candy bar is to me. That's capitalism. Just right there. Both people
yeah,
are happy. Both people are happy.
yeah,
So working forward in a product development, I've worked with a lot of people that come with an idea and a napkin, and there, in general, there's a very unrealistic expectation of how a product is developed when you get to the nitty gritty of, this is going to cost a lot of money. When you're
mhm,
talking about tooling and things like that and prototypes and getting stuff done, this is where you guys really shine, because your turnaround's fast. You're
mhm,
not inexpensive, but you're not expensive either. If you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah,
You're not
yeah,
you're saving so much time, and time is so valuable. And you can have something made in India or Mexico or China or South
mhm,
Korea, and they can ship it over here. And there's a lot of things that can happen in between, and especially if you're dealing with something that you don't want anyone to know about.
yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, and that if you have something that you really feel you need to keep secret, um, as soon as you send it across the ocean, no matter where you send it to,
yeah,
you're going to
secret's
have
out.
some difficulties with that. Um, and we could have a whole story. We could have a whole podcast on that alone, Ken.
Oh,
You've
absolutely. Me
seen
too.
probably more than I have. And the the thing I think people need to remember is that if you go out and you buy a piece of art, you're going to pay a lot for it, right?
Right.
Whether it's one piece of pottery, one painting,
Mhm.
the artist spent a tremendous amount of time on that one thing. And if you're going to have a prototype made, there's processes that allow us to be a little bit more efficient with it. But you are buying a very small amount of something, and it is
Right.
very customized. The idea of mass customization is starting to happen. You can now order, you know, digitally printed fabrics online
Right.
and get them. Now, if you talk to someone who is a sewer and they go, well, I was going to have this digitally printed, but it was like $40 for 2 yards.
Right.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you could have a dogs playing poker and your grandma at the table on this fabric. Okay. And you're complaining about $40 for
Right.
2 yards?
Right.
Really? And
because when they go to Joann's, there's for $8.99, you can get, something similar, but not quite.
I can get almost a bolt, right?
Right.
For the same price.
And
I'm
we had
like, well,
talked about this because my wife sews, and we had talked about some of these things. What was it? There's an online place, I can't remember the
yeah,
name of it, that
yeah.
does.
They sell retail. It's called Spoon Flour is
Yeah,
the name of
spoon
it.
flour,
Yeah.
and
They,
the cost was pretty high per yard
oh yeah.
when you look at full retail. And being in manufacturing, and you being in the business you've been in with printing, and plus with your previous experience in the display industry, what wholesale costs are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you see some of these, you're like, wow, that really is an awful lot of money for that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I go to the craft shows, and this just gets into product, because people that are making crafts and makers and woodworkers, they're product designers. They have a company,
Yeah.
and they're making things and they're selling them.
Yeah.
And I watch these people make, like my wife makes purses, and they're amazing.
Yeah. I've seen them.
And you go there, and someone will make something similar to that, and they're selling them for $25.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, honey, it's worth you doing because you enjoy it. But
Yeah.
if we're gonna make this into a business, you got to be able to get $150 for this thing.
Yeah.
You've got 4 hours in it and $20 worth of materials and stuff like that. And even at that, you're not making much money.
Yeah.
And
The best way for her to improve a good is to customize it through graphics, because it's easier to get mass customization of graphics right now than anything else.
right.
And that's the way I look at it. So when people complain about $40 per, 2 yards or whatever it is, I kind of say, well, yeah, but you can have literally anything you want.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, it's that's pretty remarkable when you think about it, right?
This is the time. This is the time right now. So any idea you have and anything you are doing, especially if it's online, your whole world with my card drawings and stuff, this stuff here that I do, this kind of thing. I was completely just go to car shows, bring a drawing. I put this one right here. I had the same car, the 71 Cutlass, and that's a picture of my car. I'd open the hood, and I had an easel that I taped down to the hood, to the air cleaner. Then I put the drawing on that, and I had flyers, and I just stand by the car and talk to people. Hey, what do you got? What'd you drive in here today? And I'd make $10,000-$12,000 in a summer, $150 at a time, doing these little drawings of cars. That was 30 years ago. And then, with the advent of the internet, I had stopped doing them with family and just work and things like that. I decided to start doing it again. And all of a sudden I jumped back in, and I'm like, well, okay, I don't have to be at 6 car shows a week. I don't have to be, out there. I still go to the car shows. I mean, quite a few of them, but I don't have to be as focused as selling at them. I can enjoy them because I can go online, and, my business cards, I put a QR code on my business card. And I'm not a big business card guy, but you need to hand out something that's on a big flyer. But with that QR card, I can just hold up the card and say, if you don't want the card, just scan the code. It'll take you to the website. Boom, you're at the website, just like that. And then I can track it. This person from this place in this area using this kind of phone went to my website to look at this page.
That's pretty cool.
That card.
Yeah, that's really neat.
It cost me $60 for the subscription for a year.
It's pretty cool.
$60, and I remember doing just the same. Oh man, $60. I'm just throwing that away. And I'm like,
yeah. At the same time, like for me though,
magic.
For me though, the challenge I have is that sometimes these digital tools are such a good deal, right? You're like, wow, for like this much, I can do all this. It's like, well, do you need all that? Right. And so, there's another trend that I've seen is this recurring billing that happens, right? These microtransactions. You can quickly see your, you can quickly see your expenses. And it's like, well, every nickel I spent wasn't that much, but it's I'm using a metaphor, of course, but every nickel a month, right? You have 5 nickels, that's a quarter times 12. All of a sudden you're not in the realm of nickels anymore. So when you're looking at a lot of these types of situations, it can be such a good deal. You got to be really mindful of how you want to spend your marketing budget. But there's some that are an absolute no-brainer, like you talked about, right? If you're doing face-to-face marketing and you can find out what person did what, where, at what time, you can know whether you need to go back to that event or not. And whether you're going back to see your buddies or whether you're going back to chase revenue. And there's nothing wrong with
Well,
going
and
to enjoy yourself. It's just, you need to know whether it's business or not.
what I found out is I'm very good in a crowd of people, showing them my stuff and talking about what we're doing and talking about. I
Yeah.
just enjoy talking with people.
Yeah, me too.
And so the internet thing was actually pretty hard. I've had to learn to write. I've taken some courses. I took the Jason Stapleton had the copy clinic a few weeks ago, and it
I
was a
saw that.
2-day
I
intensive
was booked. I
course.
couldn't check it out, but
Oh,
it looked
it's
neat.
incredible. It came with a 500-page handbook of ads that he's collected over the years that are just like brilliant ads. And it's 500 pages of every page is gold. And there was like an 80-page workbook that we all worked together. There was 12 of us in the class that time, and Jason, and he's like, all right, here's the concept. This is what we're trying to talk about here. This is we're going to talk about this aspect of copywriting. Then you're going to go write. So we went and wrote something for, and he goes, I'm giving you 15 minutes. Write something about your product, or we're going to start writing sales letters and things like that. And then we come back and we all read them, and we read each other's, and some of the ones I'd just nail it and be like, wow, this came out really good. And other ones I'd just be like, one of them just goes, Ken, that's really crap. That's really not very good at all. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
know, and this is why I'm here. I want someone to tell me it's crap. But
Yeah.
in product development,
Yeah.
in the marketing end of things too, and all of this is what I want people to get on. If they understand one thing from listening to this for this hour, is have an open mind. You're going to somebody to get their expertise because you need their expertise. Take it. Understand their expertise. You can always check and get second opinions, just like a doctor. I recommend that people go. I always say I sure go with painting motorcycles. I do. I'm like, yeah, go to any of the other painters in town and see what they're going to do. And if you end up using them, great. They're all good guys. I know them. We're friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and for us being the business people, we got to have that attitude too of like, look at this guy. This is his life. You've seen it too, I'm sure, with customers. His life is in this. His whole future, he feels, is in his hands with this idea that he doesn't know how to get out. And that's a passionate guy that's great to work with.
Yeah.
If you guys can make that in the beginning, that relationship needs to be built. And it has to be a relationship between two guys that are or two people, men, woman, whatever, that are interconnected on the goal, and be able to say, all right, we're trying to get to here. And there's going to be times where, it's okay, this is going to cost a lot more than we talked about, because because this and this and this. And there's other times where you got to be able to go, you know what, you actually paid ahead because this took us a month less of time that we figured it would be. And you've already paid for that month. So let's work that into the next stage, and for us to give credit where we can give some credit when we can afford to. You can't always, but sometimes you can. And
well, and also sometimes you have a resource that you're not using and it's just easy to help someone with, right? It's like, oh, hey, I had a nonprofit come to me a while ago, and they had this project, and I said, look, if you'll let me print it on this material that I don't use anymore, I can give you a really good price. Right.
Yeah.
And they were in a real unique situation, and I totally identified with what they were doing, and they were in a tremendously hard spot.
Right.
And they were extremely flexible and really nice guys, like really nice, easy to work with guys. In those situations, you can do something nice for people. But the thing I think I'd also want to talk about is, there's this kind of thing like in cars. I'm using cars, Ken, because you're a car guy, right?
Yeah.
There's this thing that people always say. It's like, oh, I've been working on this car for 20 years. And I haven't finished it off. And they kind of are apologetic about it.
Yeah.
Right. I would say to that person, dude, you stuck with it for 20 years. Right. I mean,
how's that giving up?
Why are you ripping on yourself? Right. And the same thing can happen with product development. You can say to a product development firm, hey, I'm willing to spend this much to get the ball to a point. Right. And they'll say to you, okay, well, we'll do this and we'll do this and we'll do this. And then maybe that's enough for you to go out and find more money, either from backers or people that can help you out. But the goal when you work on a product development project is that you get it through a phase where you have something tangible.
Right.
And that tangible could be something like a PowerPoint presentation, a slide deck, a video, some sketches, or a 3D printed part, or just the concept more finalized, right?
Right.
A
little more thought through, and then going through that process, going through the product design process and making something, whether it's a digital product like a course or a piece of art or a new car, you find the little problems that you didn't realize were going to be happening, and all those little things that the devil's in the details. It really is. But after you've gone through a process and you get through the first step, now you can take a minute and take that win and say, all right, we made the first step. It's there. Okay, we've got the second step. Phase 2 is now complete. Now we have this. It's we can't put it on someone's head and do crash testing, but we can go to a dealership down the street and say, we are going to make these helmets. Are you interested in buying a helmet like this? And this is a prototype and you're going to be the first ones in, and then your whole marketing strategy changes because now you have this, but you haven't tooled it. You haven't done anything. You still need to spend $100,000 to get the thing done. But if you can go out there and you hit 25 places that sell helmets and not one of them cares, they're like, nah, it's nah. You'll know, maybe we got to change our plan before we go spend $100,000 on this.
Yeah.
And just the opposite of, how many can you get? How quick can we get them? And I've been on both ends of that, and they're both scary. The success end is actually scarier than the no, we don't want it end, because the no, we don't want it end is kind of what you figured was going to happen anyway.
Yeah. Failing fast isn't all that bad, right?
Fast and early.
But then when all of a sudden you're like, woohoo! What do we do now? It's like, oh wow, we've got a deadline now. Damn it. This was all fun and rainbows.
But we've got 30 pallets to load to ship out Thursday. And the 2 guys just left. Well, crap. What are we going to do? That kind of
we're going to figure it out, right?
And that's what you do, figuring it out. Because the people, the people that succeed are the people that didn't stop when it got hard. And that doesn't mean if it gets hard, you just have to blindly go through it. You do it smartly. You have to really have some idea of what you're doing.
Yep.
But fortunately for a lot of us, since none of us have a roadmap for our own businesses of what we're doing, when we look back at what we did, we've been like, well, I wouldn't have done it like that. If I had known it would have been like that, I wouldn't have done it. But
it is so easy to be self-critical, right?
Isn't it?
Be like, hindsight will kick your emotional rear end, right? And you just have to be patient with yourself.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and that's also another value, is having someone who is not in love with your idea themselves,
right,
help keep you on track, right?
That's a good
that's
point.
Huge, because like my my wife had to clean out her closet a while ago, right? Because she had a bunch of clothes she hadn't worn in a while, and she's not a clothes horse or anything like that. She just needed to clean it out, and every time she took something out of the closet, she was like, oh, but I was meant to do, maybe you're right. And so she had her friend come over, and her friend literally just stood behind her like this. When was the last time you wore it? Are you going to wear it this week? No, it goes,
exactly.
So the decision making got offloaded to some degree, right?
It takes some of the emotion. It takes the emotion out of the product, and all of us as product designers have emotion or whatever we do. And I've done, I've gone down bad paths because of that. And having other people that aren't connected to it look at it and say, well, I don't think we should do that. Maybe should go this way or try this, and and be open-minded to that and go, oh, I'm really I'm set in my ways, and this is the way I got to do it, but I'm going to try that anyway and see. And 50-50, the other person's idea is a great thing, or it proves your point of, no, we got to do it this way because this actually is the good way. But having that open mind, knowing that I could be wrong, I could be wrong. It's a lot easier to find that out in the development than it is after you've got a warehouse of 50,000 parts that you have to take out of the box, redo something, put new instructions in it, and then
are you speaking about something you've had experience with, Ken?
Oh no, it's never happened to me, of course. But I've just heard of that happening. On Shark Tank, I think I heard about that one. But I think it's a great place to leave it. I mean, this has been a great talk. I really appreciate it. Is there someone has an interest in your businesses? Give me their names and where they can find you.
Yeah, yeah. So the name of, we have two businesses. One is Rapid Interface, that's our manufacturing, and Light Droplet, which is our engineering. And we can be helpful with everything from backdrops for your videos. If you just want a backdrop that has graphics on it. We didn't print one up because I find it distracting. I just like a monochrome like this, and then then I can put the logo. We can do that. We can do anything from door decals. If you know exactly what you want, you have a good, strong concept of something that's very tangible, we can help you with that. And at the same time, if you have a more involved electronic project, we're happy to give you 15 minutes to tell you to give you a sense of what is going to be involved. And then you can decide whether you have the funding for that, or if you need to start skilling up to do some of the work yourself. And that's how I can be helpful. So if it's graphics, we know it probably better than, well, it's hard to say that. We know it as well as anyone. And if it has to do with electronics, my business partner does. And we're happy to give you a little bit of time just to flush something out. Because we love the beginning of any project. That's really what it
the
is.
start is really exciting, and then being able to take it through to its final point is just it's a rewarding. And I've worked with you guys before. There's some things that we've done that we just didn't finish because we changed our mind. We're going to take a different direction.
Mhm.
You and I have probably 4 different ideas that we're going to chase down in the next year or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on, and building this network again, it all came from in person, talking to people, building relationships with other business people that are solid and that are real. We can always sniff out someone that's full of crap. We can sniff
Yeah.
them out so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like
Usually.
once in a while you get someone that's exceptionally good at it, but that person usually isn't like starting a new project, because the passion that someone has to start something is really you can tell if they're full of crap or not.
Yeah. And the one thing I'd say to people too is that if you have like 27 ideas and you're beating yourself up because you haven't done 26 of them, like take it easy on yourself, right? I was talking to a music producer a while back, and I said, what do you do? How do you look at this? You can spend a tremendous amount of time with someone and not produce anything. And they said, yeah, we were working with a famous artist on Monday, and we were in the studio for 8 hours, and we still didn't get it. And then the next day we had a different artist come in, and they kind of described what they were looking for, and we played the 18th track that we'd done yesterday, and that's what they wanted. And so, I mean, you have to look at some of these projects almost as like intellectual inventory, right? You never know when all of a sudden you're going to find the right resource to get this one across the finish line. So I think it's better to look at all of the ideas you haven't been able to finish off as a marker for abundance than it is to look at it as
way of putting it.
Instead of look at it as sort of I didn't finish it off, right? Well, of course. I mean, our brains work really fast. There's no way in hell you're going to finish off everything you think of.
And creative people, I can tell you right now, as an artist, a sculptor, and a product designer, there's not enough lifetimes for me to run out of ideas. There's not enough. I mean, it's when I came to that realization, I started not feeling guilty about it. You got to let yourself say, all right, there's a whole bunch of stuff I'm not going to accomplish this week. But the things I've got to accomplish, I'm going to make damn sure I accomplish them, and I accomplish the hell out of them. And if you do that every week, you'll be a success. I mean, you will be a success if you can just stay steady at it. So
and you got to make sure that you're getting paid for what you do when it matters. If you're doing it for the joy, that's fine. But if you're looking to actually have this be a revenue stream, you got to make sure that you're paid adequately for it, because the number one reason that sole proprietors go out of business is because they don't charge adequately. They feel that it's not okay to charge adequately. And the reason they feel that way is because they want to be a great guy or a great gal. It's like, oh, I'm just helping so-and-so out. If you're helping them out, you need to get paid for your time, know? And so my advice to people is, what is the pop and fresh, come for the pie, stay for the meal, or something like that, right? It's like the joy is what gets you to show up, but you got to make sure that you're counting your nickels and your dimes, because because you got a family to feed, So.
Exactly. And your time is valuable, and you will grow. I've watched this happen more times than I care to. It's happened to me because there's been lots of times where I haven't charged enough or not charged what I'm worth. And you get disillusioned and you get bitter towards doing things that you love to do. And that's a sad place to be.
Yeah.
But right now, so I guess I'll end it with this is the greatest time to start a business, to come up with a product and come up with an idea. Brad and his company and his team are one of the best places to go to at least have an idea. I mean, he's not the guy that you go to and say, I'm thinking about developing something. I just don't know what it is. You don't go to Brad for that. You can give me a call. I'll help you with that problem. I can give you ideas, and then you can go to Brad.
Yeah.
But this is a great time. The Nomad Network that like I've talked about, I've been pushing that really hard. I'm going to put a link down to join it if you're watching this or listening and you haven't joined it yet, and any of this sounded good to you, jump in there and also share this because I've revamped my whole, this is episode 3 of the new revamped Maddk studio, because as we talked about, if you have an idea and you don't do it, it doesn't come to fruition. So I'm trying to do one or two of these a month and interview people like Brad. Last week it was Matt Bradley. So I've had problems because you're Brad Flaherty, and then I had Matt Bradley on. So it's like Mad Flaherty, Flaherty. And anyway, I'm not good at this, and I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to improve. And one of the things I did, I'm going to say this now, and then we can go. I watched like 3 hours of the Home Shopping Network.
They're actually really good at what they do.
Presenters, my God.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've got a toenail polisher. I got a thing I can curl my hair. I got a really kick-ass vacuum and a new battery charger. But anyway, always improve, always get better. Realize that we all sucked at it in the beginning. And, just keep growing and stay focused, but remember to enjoy life. Brad, thank you so much for being
Ken,
on here.
Thanks for having me. This was really a lot of fun. Please give me a holler if I can help your cause, and that goes for you and your audience. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks guys, and we'll talk to you all later.